The German shepherd lay in the dirt like something the land itself had tried to forget. One back leg twisted wrong. Blood dried black in his fur. Every breath sounded borrowed. They moved him once, gently, carefully, away from the ditch where he'd collapsed. An hour later, he was back, dragging himself inch by inch. Nails torn, chest bleeding, eyes fixed on the same patch of ground like it was the last promise left in the world. No one understood why. Not yet. But the ground remembered. If you're the kind of reader who notices small details and lingering silences, the things that matter later, staying with the story helps more than you think. By the time anyone found the dog, the fog had already started lifting off the fields like a slow exhale. Mara Ellis saw him first. She was late, which meant she was driving faster than she should have on County Road 6, the kind of narrow asphalt that forgives nothing and remembers everything. Her coffee had gone cold in the cup holder. The radio murmured weather warnings she wasn't listening to. Then something dark moved at the edge of her headlights. She braked too hard. The truck skidded, gravel popping under the tires, and when it stopped she just sat there, heart punching against her ribs. For a second she thought she'd hit him. She hadn't. The German shepherd lay half in a drainage ditch, half on the road shoulder, like he'd tried to crawl out and run out of strength halfway. His coat was thick but matted, one ear torn, the other flattened. His back leg bent wrong, too many angles where there should have been one. Mara opened the door. "Hey," she said, soft, the way you talk to things that can still hurt you. "Hey, buddy." The dog didn't growl. He didn't lift his head. But his eyes tracked her. Clear. Focused. Not fear. Not pain. Something else. Something sharp. She stepped closer and saw the blood. Old and new. Dried black along his flank, fresh red soaking into the dust beneath him. His chest shuddered with each breath, and the sound he made wasn't a whine, it was a rasp, like air being dragged through something broken. "Oh God," she whispered. Mara was a nurse. Emergency room, 15 years. She knew injuries. Knew how to tell the difference between pain and shock. Knew when something was dying. This dog wasn't dying. He was holding on. She knelt, slow, careful not to spook him. Reached out, stopped short of touching. His eyes flicked to her hand, then back to the ground beneath his nose. Not away. Not at her. "Down. Someone hurt you," she said, though she didn't know why she said it out loud. "Or you got hit." The leg looked like a car strike. But the rest of him didn't. No road burn. No shattered glass in his fur. He tried to move. It was the smallest effort, just a shift of weight, but it cost him. His body tensed, breath hitched, and he let out a low sound that crawled up Mara's spine. Still, he dragged himself forward 2 inches, claws scraping dirt. Toward the ditch. Toward the same exact spot where his nose hovered now. "Hey, no," she said, instinctively putting a hand on his shoulder. The reaction was immediate. Not a bite. A warning. His head snapped up, teeth bared, a flash of white and red, and the sound that came out of him wasn't wild, it was precise. Controlled. Like a door slamming shut. Mara froze. "Okay," she breathed. "Okay. I won't." The dog held the snarl a second longer, then lowered his head again. Nose to dirt. Body trembling. Protecting something. The realization landed heavy. Mara stood and reached for her phone. They came slower than she wanted. Small towns always do. First was Hank Rourke, volunteer fire department, still wearing his feed store cap. Then Deputy Lyle Kincaid, who'd been a deputy so long he walked like the badge weighed something. Last was June Calder from Animal Control, her truck rattling like it might fall apart if it hit a pothole wrong. June swore softly when she saw the dog. "That's a bad break," she said. "Real bad. Can you move him?" Mara asked. June crouched, assessing. "Sedate him, maybe. But not out here." The German shepherd lifted his head at June's voice. His lip curled just enough to show teeth. "He's guarding," Hank said. "What?" Lyle asked. Hank pointed. "Look at his eyes. He's not scared. He's locked in." June sighed. "Dogs guard all kinds of things. Food. Territory. Could be nothing." Mara watched the dog drag himself another inch forward, breathing hard. "It's not nothing," she said. June prepared the sedative anyway. She moved slow, practiced. The needle slid in clean. The dog tensed, fought it for a moment, then sagged as the drug took hold. His eyes fluttered, but even as consciousness slipped, his body leaned forward. Like gravity lived in that patch of dirt. They lifted him onto a blanket, careful of the leg. He didn't wake. As they carried him to the truck, Mara looked back. The ground he'd been guarding looked ordinary. Mud. Weeds. A shallow depression near the ditch where rainwater pooled in spring. Nothing there. Nothing visible. They drove him to the clinic in Ridgeway. 2 rooms, 1 vet, a waiting area that smelled like bleach and old magazines. Dr. Simon Hale met them at the door, gray-haired and tired-eyed. "He's in rough shape," Hale said after the x-rays. "Compound fracture. Infection setting in. He's been like this a while. Can you save him?" Mara asked. Hale hesitated. "I can try." They splinted the leg, cleaned the wounds, gave fluids, antibiotics. When the shepherd finally slept for real, his chest rising and falling evenly, the room felt quieter than it should have. June wiped her hands. "If he makes it through the night, I'll find a shelter placement." Mara nodded, but something tightened in her chest. "He's going to try to go back," she said. June looked at her. "Back where?" Mara didn't answer. The dog woke just before dawn. The clinic's night tech found the kennel door open. Blood streaked the floor. By the time they found him, he was gone. They spotted him an hour later, halfway down County Road 6. Dragging himself. The splint hung useless, torn loose. His chest scraped asphalt. His front paws were raw, pads shredded. Every movement cost him something he didn't have left. But he kept going. Back. Mara followed in her truck, hazard lights flashing, throat tight. She didn't honk. Didn't shout. She knew better. When he reached the ditch, he collapsed exactly where he'd been before. Same spot. Same angle. Same patch of ground. He lowered his head and pressed his nose into the dirt. And finally, he rested. Deputy Kincaid stood beside Mara, hat in his hands. "I've never seen anything like that," he said quietly. Mara swallowed. "Me neither." They tried again. Carefully. Gently. 2 men, a stretcher, a promise of help. The dog woke just enough to fight. Not wildly. Purposefully. It took 3 of them to lift him. An hour later, he was back. Crawling. Bleeding. Relentless. That was when Lyle noticed the smell. He knelt, brushed his fingers over the dirt. And stopped. "June," he said. "Come here." She crouched beside him. He dug. Just a little. The earth gave easier than it should have. June's face went pale. "What is it?" Mara asked. Lyle didn't answer right away. He uncovered fabric. Denim. A sleeve. And beneath it, human skin. The German shepherd lifted his head. For the first time since they'd found him, his eyes met Mara's. Not pleading. Not angry. Relieved. They didn't move the dog again. Not after the sleeve. Not after the smell reached them, sweet and wrong and unmistakable once you knew it. Deputy Lyle Kincaid stood up slowly, like sudden movement might shatter the moment, and looked down the road in both directions. County Road 6 was empty. Fields on one side, tree line on the other. No witnesses. No cameras. No noise but the wind pushing fog into thin ribbons. "Back up," he said, his voice steady in the way men learn when they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. "Everybody back." The German shepherd didn't move. He lay with his head pressed to the dirt, breath shallow but even, eyes half-lidded now that the ground was opened. His body had done what it came to do. June Calder stood, pale, hands shaking. "Lyle, that's a person." "I know." Mara felt cold spread through her limbs. She crouched without realizing she was doing it, close to the dog but not touching. Close enough to feel the warmth of him. Close enough to smell the iron under the antiseptic still clinging to his fur. "He knew," she said. No one asked who she meant. Lyle pulled out his radio. His words were clipped, procedural, the way you talk when you need rules to hold you upright. Requesting county investigators. Securing a possible burial site. Calling it in the way it had to be called in. But as he spoke, Mara noticed something else. The fabric wasn't old. The denim was faded, yes, but not rotted. The earth hadn't claimed it yet. This wasn't a grave from decades past. This was recent. Recent enough that the dog's wounds made sense. "Who reported a missing person?" she asked, quiet. June rubbed her arms. "There's always someone missing. Folks drift. Run off. Don't call home." Lyle ended the radio call and crouched again. He brushed more dirt away. Careful now. A hand emerged. Pale. Fingers curled inward like they'd tried to grab something when the earth came down. Mara looked away. The German shepherd let out a sound, not a whine. A breath. Like relief escaping. "He stayed," Mara said. "He stayed with them." The investigators arrived 2 hours later, kicking up dust and questions in equal measure. Sheriff Tom Calder came with them, June's older brother, his jaw tight, his eyes already carrying the weight of what small towns hate most, attention. They cordoned off the road. Set up tents. Took photos. Asked the same questions twice and wrote down half the answers. Mara stayed until she was told to leave, then lingered anyway, watching from her truck. They loaded the dog back onto a stretcher. This time, he didn't fight. His eyes followed the hole in the ground as they carried him away, then closed. At the clinic, Dr. Hale shook his head. "He shouldn't be alive," he said quietly. "Pain like that, blood loss, infection." "But he is," Mara said. Hale studied her for a moment. "Yeah," he said. "He is." They stabilized him again. Cleaned the wounds again. Resplinted the leg. This time they locked the kennel door and moved him where he could be watched. Mara sat with him after her shift ended, long past the point she should have gone home. She talked without thinking, about the weather, about nothing, about the way the town looked when fog rolled in like a memory that didn't want to stay buried. The dog listened. Not with his ears. With his eyes. "You're not a stray," she said finally. "Are you?" The dog's tail thumped once. Barely. They identified the body that evening. Name: Caleb Pierce. 23. Grew up in Ridgeway. Worked seasonal construction. Last seen 3 weeks ago. Reported missing by his mother after he didn't come home on a Sunday. Sheriff Calder broke the news to her himself. By morning, the town knew. It always does. By afternoon, rumors had layered over facts like sediment. Caleb owed money. Caleb was dealing. Caleb was seeing someone's wife. Caleb was trouble. Caleb asked for it. Mara heard them all in the diner, in the grocery store aisle, in the way people looked at her when they realized she'd been there when the dog was found. The German shepherd became a symbol overnight. Someone left flowers at the clinic. Someone else left a note. "Good boy." Kids asked if they could see him. Adults asked if he was dangerous. June Calder avoided Mara. Sheriff Calder avoided everyone. Deputy Kincaid did not. He stopped by the clinic the next evening, hat in hand again. "Mind if I ask you something?" he said. Mara nodded. "You think the dog killed him?" Lyle asked. "No." "Why not?" "Because if he had," Mara said, "that body wouldn't have been buried. It would have been torn apart." Lyle considered that. "You're saying he tried to protect him?" "Yes." "From what?" Mara didn't answer right away. "Someone," she said finally. The autopsy took 2 days. Caleb Pierce had been beaten. Blunt force trauma. Defensive wounds on his hands. Dirt in his lungs. Buried alive, or close enough to know it. And then the part that made the room go quiet. Dog hair under his fingernails. Not from an attack. From gripping fur. Holding on. They brought the German shepherd in for examination. Took samples. Ran comparisons. It was a match. The dog had been there at the end. Not as a weapon. As a witness. Sheriff Calder called Mara the night the report came in. "I hear you're attached to the dog," he said. "That's one way to put it." I'm trying to keep this contained, he said. Town's already on edge. With respect, Mara replied. A kid was buried alive. Silence. Then, I know Caleb, Calder said. Knew his father. This isn't easy. Truth rarely is. Another pause. I'd like you to stop talking about the dog. Mara felt something tighten in her chest. Why? Because people are starting to think he knows more than we do. He does. That's not how investigations work. Then maybe the investigation should catch up. Calder exhaled. Just be careful. The line went dead. The betrayal came quietly. June Calder signed the transfer papers the next morning. Out of county shelter, she said, eyes down. He needs specialized care. They've got resources we don't. Mara read the form. The destination was 2 hours away. He won't survive transport, Mara said. June's mouth tightened. That's not your call. You're moving him away from the grave. June finally looked up. And what if that grave leads somewhere people don't want to go? Mara stared at her. You're helping your brother. June flinched. He's my brother, she said. And this town is my home. And Caleb? Mara asked. Wasn't that his home too? June turned away. The truck came at noon. Mara stood in front of the kennel door. No, she said. Sheriff Calder arrived 5 minutes later. This isn't a standoff, he said quietly. It is if you make it one. They looked at each other. History hung between them, school events, small favors, 1,000 unspoken understandings. You think I'm protecting someone, Calder said. I think you're protecting the town, Mara replied. And sometimes those aren't the same thing. The German shepherd stirred, sensing tension. His eyes opened. He struggled to rise. Don't, Mara whispered, hand on his chest. Calder watched that. Something in his expression shifted. What if the dog leads us to more? Mara asked. What if he wasn't guarding just one grave? Calder swallowed. The silence stretched. Finally, he nodded once. Delay the transfer, he said to June. 24 hours. June's face fell. Tom. 24, he repeated. The truck left empty. That night, the German shepherd tried to stand. Not toward the door. Toward the window. Mara followed his gaze. Beyond the glass, past the parking lot, County Road 6 disappeared into darkness. The dog's body trembled with effort. Show us, Mara said softly. The dog met her eyes. And for the first time since she'd known him, he wagged his tail. The road remembered him. County Road 6 had no memory in any official sense. No cameras, no markers, no reason to be anything but asphalt and dirt. But when the German shepherd was lifted into the back of Mara's truck just before dawn, his body leaned east without hesitation. Injured leg splinted. Chest wrapped. Eyes open and burning with purpose. Easy, Mara murmured, driving slow, hazard lights off, the world still half asleep. I'm listening. The dog's name came to her somewhere between the first mile marker and the old water tower. She didn't choose it. It surfaced. Rook, she said. His tail tapped once against the truck bed. They followed him past the ditch. Past the first grave. Into land no one claimed anymore. An old orchard slumped beyond a rusted fence line, trees skeletal and crooked, their branches clawing at fog. The place had belonged to the Mercer family once, before debts and quiet sales hollowed it out. Now it was owned by a holding company no one could quite remember forming. Rook whined low. Mara stopped the truck. Deputy Lyle Kincaid pulled in behind her, his cruiser lights dark. He stepped out, scanning the trees. You sure about this? He asked. No, Mara said. But he is. They helped Rook down. His front paws hit dirt and he pulled forward immediately, ignoring the pain, nails digging deep. Lyle followed, hand near his holster, not because of the dog, but because of the land. They reached a stand of trees where the ground dipped unnaturally. Rook stopped. He didn't dig. He lay down, pressed his body flat against the earth like he'd done before. Mara's breath caught. There's more. Lyle swallowed. Yeah. They called it in. This time, The silence on the other end of the radio lasted too long. The second grave wasn't alone. Neither was the third. The orchard gave them up slowly, fabric, bone, the quiet geometry of violence repeated. Different clothes. Different sizes. Same hurried burial. Same shallow depth. Same dog hair. Rook watched it all with stillness that bordered on reverence. Sheriff Calder arrived late. Too late. His face went gray when he saw the orchard lit by work lamps, the earth open like a confession no one wanted to make. "How many?" he asked. "For so far," Lyle said. "Possibly more." Calder closed his eyes. The betrayal came then, not loud, not dramatic. Just truth slipping. "I knew about one," Calder said quietly. "Years ago. A drifter. I told myself it was a bad fall. No evidence. No body at the time." Mara stared at him. "And you let it go." "I didn't know it would become this." "That's how it always starts." Calder looked at Rook. The dog held his gaze. "You were trying to save them," Calder whispered. "Weren't you?" Rook didn't move. The killer was not a stranger. It never is. He was found before sunset, hiding in plain sight. Grant Mercer, caretaker of the orchard, inheritor of land and rage, and a belief that people who wandered onto his property deserved what they got. Caleb Pierce hadn't wandered. He'd witnessed. Grant had tried to bury the truth. Rook had refused. The arrest was quiet. No crowd. No shouting. Just cuffs clicking closed and a man shrinking into the shape he'd always been. Grant didn't look at the dog. Rook didn't survive the night. Dr. Hale said it gently. Infection had gone systemic. His body had given everything it had left. Mara was there. She held his head, felt his breath slow, watched his eyes drift, not away, but inward, like he was returning something precious. "You stayed," she whispered. "You did your job." Rook's tail moved once, then stopped. They buried him where he chose. Not by law, by consensus. At the edge of the orchard, beneath a tree that still bloomed in spring despite everything. The town came. Quietly. No speeches. Just hands pressed to bark. Heads bowed. A promise made without words. Mara stood back, watching the earth settle. Some things shouldn't be moved. Some guardians don't leave. And some truths only come up because something loyal enough stayed behind to protect them.